Welcome to ACC Nation, featuring sports news and special guest interviews. Here's Will Ojanen and Jim Quist.
Welcome to ACC Nation, or Green Acres on the other side of the camera. Green Acres
is the place to be.
Farm living is the life for me. And if anybody's got that earworm in their heads right now, it's all thanks to us.
We're not sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. It's better than singing Christmas music through the holidays because, those songs will get stuck in your head, and that's all she wrote.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
Oh, gosh.
Well, this is what you get right in front of Christmas, folks. That's funny. You do that. Just before this, I saw a TikTok of Hank Azaria doing that song as all of his different voices.
Oh, wow.
Chief Wiggum, comic book guy, Duff Man, Professor Frank. Yeah, it was hilarious.
God. Wow. That's a lot of voices too. A lot of characters. Mm-hmm. Where was that? Was that on TikTok?
Yeah, I'll send it to you after the show.
All right, cool. All righty. And just by the way, just to let everybody know, now individually we are on TikTok. So as ACC Nation, we are not. Just kind of weighing that out to see where that might go and whether or not it would be worth doing. Mm-hmm. But we are on an awful lot of other social media outlets, the good old standbys, Facebook and X and Instagram. Mm-hmm. We are also on Mastodon, Blue Sky, Reddit. Who else are we on? We're LinkedIn. And we always like to connect with people who are somebody or active in the business community that are tied in some way with sports and stuff. Sometimes they're not. It doesn't make any difference. But we're there.
Threads.
Threads, yes. Forgot about Threads. I think they're all beginning to distinguish themselves these days. The more I bounce from one to the other, because I tend to bounce around. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to look here real quick just to make sure. Let's see. What do we have here? We got Reddit, Blue Sky. Not quite on TikTok yet. We are on YouTube, which you can watch, obviously, if you want to. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Threads, X, Facebook, Mastodon, LinkedIn. Okay. You can also find us at Google News and follow us there if you'd like. Tend to forget to mention that from time to time, but we're there. A couple other places. And, of course, accnation.net. We are on streaming radio. And thank you, all of you folks who listen to us on streaming radio. We have a really varied audience across the world, which I find it interesting. Every time I look at the numbers, Will, it's fascinating to me where people are listening, and it's just a wide variety of countries. I mean, you would think, okay, well, primarily it's going to be in the English-speaking countries. Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
Just like David Hasselhoff, we're big in Germany.
That's right. Germany. We're big in Colombia. We're big in India, Taiwan. Let's see here. Romania, Italy, France. There's a couple others. I mean, I can't keep up with everything off the top of my head, but one of the things that we did there, if you listen to us on streaming radio, you'll notice that we have IDs on there that are kind of country specific because we wanted to give a nod. Now, they're not perfect. I will admit they are AI generated, so they're not perfect. Okay. But it was our attempt to say, such as to our Indian listeners, namaste, ciao, uh, hola, etc. On down the line. We just wanted to say hi and thank you because we appreciate you listening. And we hope that if you are in the United States, Canada, I know we have a lot of Mexican listeners as well. Come join us. Love it.
Hola, hello, and take off, eh?
Yeah. Yes, that's the Canadian version. Okay, and so we mentioned YouTube as well. So, and podcast. We don't want to forget the podcast because a lot of people listen to the podcast. It's very easy to do that, and we have a very simple way of subscribing. You can go to our website, accnation.net, click on a link that's right there in the middle of the page. It is so cool in the way that the options there, no matter what your favorite platform may be, or if you don't have a favorite platform, you can actually have it sent to you when it gets posted. It can be sent to you by email, which is pretty cool too. Now, and just so I know, because a lot of people don't like this, we don't collect and share that information about those emails. Okay. So if you're dropping because I get mine sent by email because it's quick. If you do that, we're not going in and collecting all that email information and selling it to anybody. We don't do that. We don't take any of your personal information and share and sell it. We just don't do that because, we're like you. We would prefer our privacy just as much as you would. And so we respect you on that sense. So anyway, and just as a reminder, the guys at All Sports Discussion, Jeff and Matthew, who talk about a little bit of everything, including ACC sports. Sometimes, recently they're talking about the FCS football playoffs because Matthew has a tie to North Dakota, because that's where he's from. Anyway, talking about the football there and a lot of other things. They talk about a wide variety of stuff, hockey, etc. Mm-hmm. Sometimes will be a special guest on there and join them and talk hockey and maybe some other things too. So they join us on the streaming side, as does our buddy Kenny Buckets, Ken Cross, Marching to Madness podcast is and specifically just the ACC schools, because Ken year round literally is interviewing coaches from across I think pretty much exclusively Division I, but there's a ton of interviews of college hoops coaches on there, and you can also go to collegehoopswatch.com. That's his primary site. Marching to Madness is the podcast, but you can look up either one on Google. But anyway, those are on our streaming. So I wanted to share that with you. We talk about it from time to time. Wanted to talk about it up front, end of the year type of thing, and we just appreciate you. This is we do this. This is a passion for us. We love ACC sports. Will loves some ACC sports more than others, but that's okay. Me, I'm just sort of the guy who I'm rooting for everybody. So, I was rooting for SMU and Clemson to win, and unfortunately they did not. But, Clemson had I think a decent showing, and also there's some things there that I believe that we should all collectively take as a positive move for the Atlantic Coast Conference. The SMU is a good example, I think. Will, you talk about their first season in the conference, and essentially they're there in the championship game, and they have an idea what they need to do, and they certainly have the money and the personnel to make that happen. Um, I I'm not too worried about a loss this year for either one of these teams, to be frank about it. It's okay. I know we would have loved to have seen them win and move ahead, but it's okay that they had this loss. And there's a lot of really positives that come out on the other side of this.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I've talked
Yeah, so
forever.
well, just to kind of throw in a couple thoughts on it. Yeah, they were both significant underdogs in those games.
Yeah,
I mean, SMU, let's be real, I mean, Kevin Jennings just he had a terrible, no good, very bad game.
it
And it
happens.
was just not a good time to have it. And it's kind of the good of having these games at home field. You know, you have the game was in Happy Valley at Penn State. That atmosphere was unbelievable. Like that's what we like so much about these playoff games. I think that was kind of the story of the weekend. And same for Clemson and Texas. I mean, Clemson was more competitive, but we've talked about their bugaboo all season has been run defense, and they got gashed in
Yep.
that game by Texas, who runs the ball really well to begin with. And they still, they were remotely close. It was a couple score game, but with recent transactions in the portal and the fact that Clemson is actually using it now,
Bravo.
well, number one, thank you, Dabo, for finally waking up and realizing the effects of the portal. And number two, we might have to take Clemson a little more seriously now.
That's right.
Like, I mean, we're taking them seriously because they've been the best program in the ACC for a decade now. But the fact that Dabo went in the portal got a wide receiver will probably be a depth guy. I'm not sure exactly what his role is, but that defensive lineman they picked up is really good, and he will be a factor next season. So bravo to you, Dabo, for making a splash in the portal.
Yeah. I'm right there with you on that one. We've given him so much grief. He's heard it from the fans. He's heard it from everybody that what the heck are you doing not using the transfer portal because there's so much talent in there. Again, I will bring this up. I I was probably discussing it with myself, even though there was somebody else in the room during the games, talking about how important it is for teams to begin to seriously treat college football. And you can do the same thing with all the other sports, but definitely college football. If you're not treating it as a business, you are losing. If you don't look at it and go, this is a business, you've started out on the losing end already. This is what all these other programs have been doing for some time. They have taken that and run with it and built themselves into these powerhouses. And look, we've talked about this. There is a lot of parity with NIL and the transfer portal. There can be, and I think we're seeing it because when you see people complaining about, oh, we're losing all these players from Alabama. Well, you should expect that to happen because when players are given an opportunity to play and somebody offers them a better opportunity, financially or whatever, to come to a school, they're going to leave because maybe they were sitting on the bench or, the next man up type of thing. People don't want to do that. They want to play. So there's going to be more parity because these players are going to start spreading out as long as the NIL money is there. And I think it is because we're starting to see it. Look, we can address, what happened at Virginia. Some people stepped up there, and that is going to have a hell of an impact on the Cavaliers. I had to step back from that and go, I'm going to have to reassess what I believe the Virginia program is going to be like from here on out. Um, I was keenly aware of that from the very get go with SMU because I saw the money that was there and, the hunger. It's going to happen. It's going to kick in. Dabo making that change to start pulling people in from the transfer portal. He's a winner. He's a winner. He knows what it takes. And sometimes, yeah, you got to break through some old traditions and stuff and move forward. He's smart enough to do that. So you got to give him a lot of credit. You got to, say, hey, I support this. He wants to get back to a point where that team is rolling over people. I think some of the change that just happened at Wake Forest with Dave Clawson stepping aside to be a special advisor. Dave Clawson's a hell of a coach, but let me tell you something. He's taking that experience and all of that exposure and funneling it into being a special advisor for the athletic program at Wake Forest. Don't you think for a second that in the next year or two, that school isn't stepping up even further as well? We can go down a long list, but I want to come back to Virginia because, that's your passion, Will. And talk a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of anonymous donors have contributed significant amounts of money to the school for the football program especially for the transfer portal to help with that.
Mm-hmm.
One person's giving out it's multi-million dollars over a decade from what I read, and another one's pitching in a few extra mil, and it's really paid off so far in the portal. Looking at, I think I've just got 24/7 Sports in front of me right now. They have they're fifth in the ACC in terms of their rankings in the portal. And you look at some of their big, acquisitions. Chandler Morris, who had a good career. He had a good season at North Texas, throwing for over 3,000 yards. Um, he's coming in. He's going to be the starting quarterback. They have his eventual replacement, Daniel Kalen, who committed to Nebraska, but um, was going to be stuck behind Dylan Raiola there for a couple more years. He wasn't going to get, and it goes back to what we were talking about a moment ago, Jim, or you were. There are certain people who are not going to want to sit around and wait their turn. If they feel like they can go somewhere and play right away, that's what they're going to do. And that came to fruition today. We're recording on Monday. Hunter Osborne, a former four-star commit from Alabama, transferred to Virginia. That's a huge win for the Hoos, getting a player from Alabama to come over, and a lot of that has to do with the money that was given to the program by the anonymous donors. They're able to step up and give these players. And like Osborne has not had much of an opportunity to play. He redshirted last season, sparingly played this year. And we know Alabama turns out defensive linemen in the NFL a lot.
Yep.
And maybe it wasn't quite his turn at Alabama. I'm not going to sit here and say I know the depth chart. I'm going to be real about that. But he kind of saw the writing on the wall and said, "Hey, I'm going to go somewhere else and try to get an opportunity to play." So he went to Virginia. Chandler Morris had an inauspicious start to his career. Floated around, had a couple good seasons at TCU, but then went kind of got overtaken by Max Duggan, I believe it was, or somebody, and then he portaled to North Texas, had an awesome season. Now he's coming back to Virginia. A lot of that's because of connections to Chad Moore. His father, Chad Morris, was an assistant at Clemson under Tony Elliott, so there's a relationship there already. They picked up a player from Louisville, Devin Neal, who was a starter for a couple of years and then was injured and missed most of this season, so he had 1 year left. Portaled over to Virginia. And then they picked up a lot of guys who were really good at the FCS level, who, if they pan out, will be, quality starters or depth. And it goes back to, what the amount of money that they've put into this program since the end of the season, knowing, hey, we can be better. This is, and I even said this the moment Chandler Moore's committed. These coaches' jobs are on the line here in 2025. Tony Elliott's probably going to have the hottest seat in the league in 2025. They
Yeah.
got to win. They got to get to at least a bowl
Yep.
to keep their jobs.
And I, based upon everything that we're seeing, there's no reason why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
One other thing here, that I need to, we talk about a lot of variety of things, and I know some people will look at, well, that's just your opinion, but let me just say this again. Let me go back to the business part of it. Colleges and universities are businesses as well.
Mhm.
And I know there's a lot of, reputation in regard to your educational standards. And there's a chafe that goes on between athletic and education. Always has been like that. We got the dummies and we got the smarties, or the nerds, whatever. They're not mutually exclusive here, folks. Here's a thing that's extremely important that everybody needs to remember: that your recognition through sports is a plus for the education side. And people go, I don't see how that can be possible. PR, folks. I mean, come on. If your school is being talked about on national media on a regular basis, or it's a winning tradition, or whatever you want to go through there, kids look at that and go, oh, that's exciting. I want to be a part of that. I want to feel that. I want to go there and see what that's all about. And people want to be part of a winning tradition. So if you have winning traditions in athletics, which Virginia certainly does on a wide scale. We had a thing about the Virginia women's swim and dive team. Just staggeringly awesome group. It just blows my mind how much talent has been there throughout the years and is there right now. But it only gets so much PR. And, and I'm sorry, we can say, well, that's not fair. Well, sure, maybe it's not, but it's reality, and you deal with reality. Okay. So what you do is you take that football, you take that basketball, or whatever the hell else it is that's getting that huge publicity, and you make it work for you. You generate income from it, and you draw attention to your school and its academics and what it's doing, because not everybody can be a football player. Not everybody wants to be a football player, but they do like the excitement that comes with that, and they want to go to a school that's a winner. So you build winning programs. Free advertising brings kids in, okay? And it excites people who want to donate large sums of money to your school. Some of them will donate for athletics. Some of them will donate for education. And that's a fantastic thing. So it goes together. It is a business. Now, let's go down to North Carolina, Will, because here's another classic example of how one move is going to make such a huge difference in the way that people look at North Carolina football from here on out. Bill Belichick. That's all I need to say. Your thoughts on this man coming into North Carolina and what he's going to do?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We haven't talked about it since the news happened. Just because life's gotten in the way for both of us. So it is what it is. But I have my skepticism. I'm not going to lie. You're replacing a guy who's 73 years old with a guy who's 72 years old. And when he left New England, because he had a hand in all the talent acquisition, at least with like the draft and stuff, his drafts were not very good the last few years. And I think it was a sign that he's probably not as good as he ain't as good as he once was, as the Toby Keith song says. Um, Obviously, it's just a short-term thing because his son's gonna come in as defensive coordinator and ultimately take over the program in a couple of years whenever he wants to go. Um, but the name cachet, yeah, I'm Bill Belichick. I'm one of the greatest head coaches in the history of the National Football League. But you've never coached college. It's a totally different dynamic. Um, and we've see Herm Edwards, for example, Lovie Smith, for example, NFL guys that come down to college and failed miserably. It's a totally different game. And I don't know what he thought would make, he thought he'd be the right person for the job. Maybe he just still has that hunger to coach. Whatever, cool. He's gonna have an uphill climb this year, I mean, with all the talent that's left, and they didn't have to have a very good signing day, and they're working on it with the portal. They're currently sitting at number 3 in the ACC in the transfer portal rankings. So, like I said, they have a lot of work cut out for them coming up. But I just I don't know if this is going to work out in the short term. Um, I just and I'm not trying to be an ageist here, but there are some
I
people
hope not.
who are out there and are still really good at coaching.
Yeah.
But I think we saw the last few years of Belichick that he just wasn't what he once was.
Yeah, well, and I will say the same thing about a multitude of college coaches, and Mac Brown being one of them. I just thought that he was trailing off. I just didn't see it as being as dynamic. I I also felt the same way about David Cutcliffe, and again, as you said, not being in ages, uh, talking about ageism here. I got a lot of room to. I mean, I've experienced it. Um, I'm old enough that I have experienced it firsthand, and it's a weird dynamic, man. When you get to a certain age, and people are like, "Nah, you know, you got tons of experience, blah blah blah," but you're kind of old. They don't say that because that's how you get into a lawsuit. But you get shuttled off to the side, shuttleboard off to the side. Um, but yeah, the one thing I can see with Belichick here is, as you point out, the name. Um, I think he's drawn quite a number of people already to the program based upon that. Now, there's probably some pessimism out there from the player's perspective that you're expressing in regard to him. That may be more of a reflection, at least in my eyes, of the program as a whole. Is like, I don't, most people when they think of North Carolina, they don't think of football, and they think of basketball. And right now, the basketball program's kind of, we'll get into that here in a minute. But I think Bubba Cunningham is an AD. He's a pretty savvy dude, and he realizes that he's got to turn the corner on one of these two programs, and maybe this was a swing for the fences here to get Belichick in there and to get something dynamic going and get that program up and rolling and generating some excitement and bringing income in, because right now I'm not so sure that people are looking at North Carolina basketball and feeling the love.
Yeah, so let me just I want to follow up on something on the from Belichick, and I've got their draft history here the last 6 years, starting in the 2008 draft. They had 9 picks in that draft. Only 3 of them are still playing football. The 2019 draft, the first 5 picks of that draft are out of the league already. 2021 drafted Mac Jones. He's a backup in Jacksonville right now.
Hmm.
His third round pick's already out of the league. Like even the 2022 I mean it's too early to say about the 2022 and 2023 drafts. That's I mean they're still too early in their careers to know whether these guys are going to pan out. But there is a there is a track record here of those handful of drafts that the talent isn't there. Oh, and by the way, you know, he had Tom Brady, and when Brady left, didn't go so well.
Yeah.
Brady ended up winning a Super Bowl in Tampa, and I think that says all we need to know.
Well, you could hear the suck when
Mhm.
Brady left. It was like, yeah, that was a rough. Yeah, so we'll see whether or not those talents
But
as an NFL coach,
yeah.
which you have rightfully said, let's look at it. Let's look at it and see whether there really is there that talent there to find people who are qualified and are going to really contribute to the program at this level, because it is different. And I don't know that everybody fully appreciates that. I think a lot of the coaches who are in college who bounce into a coordinator's role in the NFL and suddenly find themselves back in the college ranks, I think they realize, oh, this isn't the same, because it's some serious business there. You're talking about big money, big egos,
Mhm.
and a lot of BS, and it's hard to make things happen the same way that you do at the college level. But
Mhm.
college is getting to be the same way too, with NIL and
Mhm. Yeah, it's
transfer
getting
portal.
like there's becoming more similarities between the two, but again, no guarantees. I mean, we're a long ways from knowing how this team is gonna the pan out. I don't even know who the quarterback's gonna be next year or anything like that. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just skeptical of the whole situation.
Well, it's good to be a skeptic.
Mhm.
I'm gonna leave my glass at half full, and we'll see what
Mhm.
happens. And
Mhm.
if you happen to need some water along the way, I'll share. So,
Thank you. But
just a
I
quick note here: Louisville made it to the NCAA volleyball championship. Unfortunately, they fell to Penn State 3-1. It was a very exciting volleyball season for the ACC. A lot of power teams in there. In women's soccer, it ended up being an all ACC championship. UNC over Wake Forest, 1-0 off a free kick in the 61st minute. Amazing, amazing stuff. We have had some football bowl action. Hasn't gone our way so far. Cal lost. I'm not sure the other team that played. There's been another team that's played. I thought there was, and I couldn't pull it up
well,
on.
I mean, like I say, Fernando Mendoza portaled out. So again,
Right.
we don't. I don't know what. It's hard to predict, this bowl stuff. And yes, I mean, obviously SMU and Clemson in the playoff, but no, nobody else has played. The next game will
Okay.
actually be Thursday, the 26th, Pitt taking on Toledo.
Gotcha. All right. Um, yeah, I mean that's the thing with all these players leaving.
Mhm.
Um, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say, okay, uh, that's the Cal team that we saw during the year. No, it wasn't. So, but apparently, fairly close game, I think.
I think it was like 27-13.
Okay. Well, close enough
No, 24-13.
for government work.
Still, like, we talked about it. Fernando Mendoza was in the portal, and they ended up playing 2 quarterbacks in that game.
Hmm.
They kind of treated it as an exhibition in a way.
Yeah. Good
And
time.
that's kind of what they are now.
Well, yeah, and a good opportunity for players to get experience in the limelight.
Mhm.
So,
Especially, if your starters portaled out, this is your chance to shine. Say,
that's right.
oh, maybe we don't need to take this position in the portal if they haven't picked up anybody. I mean, maybe this guy has something that we didn't notice before.
Indeed. Coming up next, just as a quick rundown in the CFP, it's Ohio State taking on Texas, who will then go on to meet Oregon. Texas takes on Arizona State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Penn State, Boise State. Care to give your choices on any of those games?
Uh, I'm really excited for the playoff. I think this is going to be a ton of fun. Let me think. I think I'd probably. I'm trying to think.
There's some
I'll take
teams.
Texas over Arizona State. I don't want to, but I think that's
Yeah,
what I'm going to take. I think Notre Dame can beat Georgia, especially
oh, I do too.
if
Yeah.
if Gunnar Stockton's going to be the quarterback, which he will be. Even though Notre Dame lost that defensive player for the season that was also announced on Monday,
Mhm.
but that and that's what and that going backwards, that game against Indiana, it's exactly why I think Notre Dame can make a run in this playoff. That defense was
It's
outstanding.
stout. Yeah.
Like that, I mean, I don't think, yeah, they lost to Northern Illinois, but I don't think there was a more of a wake-up call game than that one. And they have been a much, much different team ever since that. And I think they have, if they can get past Georgia, I think they have a legit shot at winning the national
Yeah.
championship with that, with the way their defense is playing and or with the way Love's running the football. He had that big 98-yard TD run against Indiana. I think I just really like what they're doing. I like I'm going to take Oregon as well. I think they're the best. They're still the best team in the country, although I think that's going to be probably the most fun game of all the ones in the play in the next round.
I see Oregon and Notre Dame as the two teams.
I can definitely see that.
That's my pick. I think Ohio State beats Texas,
Hmm.
but
And then
I don't think they're going to beat Oregon though.
yeah,
No way.
and then I like Penn State over Boise. I just they're
Yeah,
too as much as I would love to see Boise State run through them with Ashton Genty. I think we saw on during that SMU game exactly why Abdul Carter is probably the best defensive player in the country.
yeah.
He doesn't have,
It would be entertaining to see an underdog win
yeah.
just because.
I just, quite frankly, I would just like to see all the SEC teams lose so Feinbaum and all these SEC blowhards would shut the bleep up.
Okay, well, Arizona State's going to beat Texas.
Yep.
That's the end of the. Well, it doesn't have to just be the CFP stuff for Feinbaum to shut up. So, just shut up,
It
Peter.
ain't just him. I mean,
I,
the
you know,
comments Herb Street
yeah.
made too were just like,
Oh, Herb Street. What a. I've been reading all this stuff about. I think it's been an awful announcing. They were just talking about how it's like every other year or every year, some group is offended by Herb Street, some stupid crap that he does, and I'm starting to see a trend here that Herb Street, I don't know, maybe he's an idiot. I mean, I've kind of appreciated some of his analysis of stuff, but the more I listen to him, the more he's starting to wear thin, and after that FSU thing. Um, I really think he sort of pulled the plug on himself there, and
hmm.
it's just,
But
you can hear him
here,
circling the toilet.
yeah. But here's the thing though, like the data points are all jacked up because these conferences are so greedy that they killed the Pac-12 and now everybody's 18 teams. You're
Mhm.
not going to face everybody. It's going to be awfully hard to face, everyone every year now. And every couple years, it might take 2 or 3 years to play everybody. how how are you exactly going to get a good data point when you don't
Yeah.
when you have so many teams in your conference that you can't even play them all?
Yeah.
And I made this point on X Twitter. You know, if every league was 10 teams, we'd have a much better feel for this because you could just go 9 conference games, 3 non-conference games. You're playing everybody,
Yep. And then
but
we know.
and then we'd know. But
We
greed got us to this point.
was greed. It's just simple. Hey, a couple of things since we're going down this whole thing. Um, I know that I saw or a conversation with Scott Van Pelt, and there were some other people who were talking about these different things. We're talking about the home field advantage. So typically that's about 3 points, and then all of a sudden we started coming up with this stupid crap of, well, the southern teams, they don't perform as well when it's cold weather. Shut up. That is the stupidest crap I've ever heard in my life, and it should never be used as an excuse. All of these players are used to playing in different types of weather, period. They will be
They're
moving
going to have to at
on.
the next level.
That's right. That's right. So get over
Yep.
yourself. Then the whole
Let's
thing.
make Minnesota really good so some SEC team has to come to Minneapolis in December.
Yeah, there we go. Hey. That evil look, man. Wow.
I mean, we just had 6 inches of snow here, so
Oh God, they can't play in that. We don't have snow down here.
you do, but it's a different kind of snow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Oh, they would make them go up the street to US Bank, probably make them play it there.
yeah. The other thing is the using the blowouts as quote unquote the blowouts as an excuse for why, well, my team should have been in there, they wouldn't have been blown out. Shut up again, because you don't have any idea what you're talking about. If you look at the history of college football playoffs from way back when, we have blowouts left and right. We have blowouts in the NFL, in the Super Bowl. It happens. It is just something that is going to be there. So, your whole theory about, well, we would have never gotten blown out if that was us playing in there, that's stupid. Just like
And we,
you for having that damned opinion. Okay.
yeah.
So anyway,
But here's the thing, Jim.
yeah,
We got to differentiate between the NCAA basketball tournament and this,
okay,
because one guy in an NCAA tournament can go for 30 and carry his team to an upset win.
yep,
Guy, your running back can run for 150 yards, but you could still easily lose by 3 scores because it takes more than just one person on a football field to win a game. I
correct,
mean, it takes 22 when you factor offense and defense. One person can easily control the outcome of a basketball game compared to a football game.
true. So, oh my, and this anyway,
Yeah.
my beef, that's
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
We are going to have special guest on January 5th.
Brackets.
We're going to be talking about men's bracketology.
Mhm.
And from Big Underdog, it's Jason. He's going to be returning to talk to us. He has his latest, by the way, you can go to our website ACCnation.net. Look at the very bottom left of the page. You will see a link to Jason's Big Underdog Bracketology. He has his latest out. It's I think about a day old. Take a look, see how he is looking at all of the teams and what teams out of the ACC specifically he projects to be making their way into things. Megan Gower from Her Hoops Stats is going to be joining us sometime very soon. We are in the process of setting up which date and which time, because it's in the beginning of the very front end of 2025, so that's a little squirrely.
A lot more positivity on the women's side than there is on the men's side. Let's just say that.
Yes, indeed. So we'll find out what Megan's thinking in her latest bracketology as well. And so a lot of basketball coming down the pike. So let's talk a little bit about North Carolina and Hubert Davis for a moment. I mean, everybody's going, oh, God, please, no. Especially if you're a Tar Heel fan. What is the deal? What is the deal there? I mean, honestly, you know, at one point you'll hear people go, God, they get all this talent. They get all this talent. And it looks like it's going to be a good team. And there's no reason that they can't be. And they started out the season, they're ranked and they seem to be doing okay. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, you know, one of these old V8s where the spark plugs are not firing in sequence, and next thing you know, it's an old pickup truck on the side of the road, all rusted out.
Yeah, they're a weird team. They're such a bad first half team. I think I was listening to the Eye on College Basketball podcast this morning at the gym, and I think it was Matt Norlander made this point that they have trailed at halftime in every single game this season.
Unreal.
And I mean, they've been able to make these monster second half runs to compete with teams. I mean, they needed that furious comeback to beat Dayton in the Maui Invitational. Had a similar furious comeback against Michigan State in Maui. Ended up losing that game in overtime. Similar situation. I think it was Georgia Tech they were trailing as well. Florida, they were down a lot, came back and only lost the game by 6. And then again, they were trailing for most of this game against UCLA and then had to make a furious comeback against the Bruins to win this game. And there, I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly why they're that way, but I think I think one of the things is they really do miss Armando Bacot in the middle. They don't have the big that can really dominate on the inside, and it's really affecting RJ Davis, to be honest with you. I was looking at his stats this year. Last year, he shot close to 40% from 3. This year he's at 25.5%.
Wow. That's not good.
It's not good. His assist rate's down, his turnover rate's up. He just hasn't been he hasn't been nearly as good offensively this year compared to last. Elliot Cadeau, I think, has made a pretty nice step forward this year. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but he was like 19% last year. He's up to 27% this year. Hey, that's better. His numbers are up in certain aspects. But he's still a really young player. His assist rate is really good. But he turns the ball over too much. His turnover rate's 25%. It's not good either. They're just comparatively speaking, they're not nearly the offensive rebounding team they've been in the past. They don't shoot the 3 very well. They shoot less than 32% from 3, which is ranked 247th in the country. And they don't defend the 3 either. They give up 35%. which is about 253rd in the
It's
country.
not good.
Um, and yeah, the ACC as a whole is down this year. So some of those stats may not come back to haunt them. But at the same time, like I honestly don't know what to think of the ACC outside of Duke and Clemson and Pitt. Like they're like Duke's on a step above everybody else. Then Clemson, Pitt, North Carolina, I think are on a level, just below them. And then I think just about everybody else, and then Boston College and Virginia Tech. Like just the ACC as a whole is so mediocre this year, and I'm I hate to say it, but it's true.
Oh,
I mean,
it is what it
Miami
is.
has two quad four losses this year. They lost yesterday. I think it was to Mount St. Mary's, I think it was. They lost to Mount St. Mary's in overtime. They lost to Charleston Southern at the end of November, both ranked in the 200s on KenPom. Um, it's not going well for them either, and the reason is their defense sucks. Because you can score on them, and they don't play much defense. We see, and the same goes for a lot of these teams. I mean, there are a lot of. I was just looking at the net rankings. Stanford has a quad four loss. I said Miami has two of them. Georgia Tech has a quad four loss. Boston College has a quad four loss. Virginia Tech has a quad four loss. Um, and BC has a quad three loss. Miami has another quad three loss. Syracuse has a quad three loss. Cal has two quad three losses. Notre Dame has one. Stanford has one. You're losing to these teams outside the top 150, and it's just really screwing up um your resumes. Funny thing is, I was looking at this yesterday. Boise State had a quad four loss, and it was to Boston College. Boston College is so bad in the net rankings that they are a quad four loss for somebody.
I would have never thought that, but I'm
Yeah.
surprised by that Miami. Um, Miami again was one of those teams that was talked about so much going into the season, and it's just fallen flat on their face.
Yeah, I don't know why it hasn't worked out, but it hasn't. I mean, like I said, I know they've had a few injuries, but there's no excuse to be losing to Mount St. Mary's, for example. I think they're 4-8 this season. It seems like it's going to be another long year.
Then there's women's basketball.
Yeah. A lot more positivity going on there.
It's nonstop. So yeah, we'll take that. Of course, there's a few stumbles going on there too. I didn't expect some of the
Mhm.
losses. Um,
Yeah. Go ahead.
hmm.
Yeah, and just kind of looking, I mean, yeah, I think one of the stories of the season on the women's side is Georgia Tech being one of the last undefeated teams ranked left in the country at 13-0. Um, they're everyone else is in the ACC has lost a game, and you're looking at Cal's in the rankings too. They're 13-1. That's a big surprise. We thought Miami, with the Cavendish twins coming back, they've played a lot better this year. They're 11-1. Florida State's 11-2. Notre Dame 10-2, having a good season. Duke 10-3. I mean, they're ranked. They're ranked number 14 in the latest ranking. You got Carolina's at 17. They're 12-2 on the season. NC State's in the rankings at 22. They're 9-3 on the season. So it's like, yeah, there have been some questionable losses, but then there's been some good stories too. Like, I don't think I had Georgia Tech on my radar as this good of a team at this point of the season. And they beat Georgia, they upset Oregon, they beat Mississippi State, they beat North Carolina, they beat Nebraska. They have some really nice wins in their resume already. So kudos to the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, yeah. That's not a team that was expected to be where they are. Simply said. I mean, they're doing really well. Hope they keep that up. It
Mm-hmm.
just makes it that much more competitive in the ACC. And the more competitive it is, and, people talk about, well, we're going to beat each other up and, blah, blah, blah. That's the SEC argument, whining about beating each other up. Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, when you have those types of teams within your own conference, it cranks those net rankings up. And, there's some quality basketball on the women's side in the ACC, and it's just continuing. It has been going on for several years like this, and it was not just the onesie twosie teams like we've seen in the past, but it has become multiple teams that are delivering.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
So just to kind of update, so I pulled up the women's net rankings.
Mhm.
Notre Dame's at 6, Georgia Tech's at 15, Duke's at 16, North Carolina 19, NC State 24, Florida State 25, and Cal at 28. So that's 7 teams in the top 30 of the net rankings. And then if you want to expand it further, Stanford's at 39, Louisville 43, Virginia Tech 48. So that's, 10 teams in the top 50 of the net. And so that's
Pretty good.
That's huge. Like the women's ACC basketball is a complete 180 from the men. There's going to be a lot of great competition coming up. And if you have not had an opportunity to watch a lot of women's basketball yet, now's your chance, because the ACC is really good this year.
Yeah, just wait till they get into the full swing after January 1st. It's just going to be wild. Now, there are some games that a lot of games will be on ACC NX, but there will be select games on the ACC network and also on the CW and ESPN. So check out your schedule at theacc.com. You can find that link if you go to accnation.net. It's at the top. Just click on there and go to the sports, and then you'll find their schedule option. A lot of good basketball, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And these are teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament for sure. So anyway, well, on that note, I guess we will be saying the best to all of you. Happy holidays, whatever you may be celebrating it with friends and family and in peace. And we wish you the best in the coming year. So any word from your side of the fourth wall here?
Yeah, just what you said, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all those are coming up this week, and have a safe holiday, and we'll see you in 2025.
Sounds good. Cheers.
School.
Thanks for listening to ACC Nation. Be sure to listen, like and subscribe to our podcast, radio, and YouTube channels by visiting accnation.net. Follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky and Reddit at ACC Nation.
ACC Nation.